Many of us, we focus on a singular issue that we already know, even when we're in denial. And it would take somebody, and I'm using extreme cases, it'll take somebody who knows us, like say if we're sticking a needle in our arm, we're addicted to heroin. And it's like, they got to tell us, and we know, and we may break down crying, or if it's an alcohol thing. Usually with porn, it's so secretive, nobody knows, right? So, that's something you have to come to terms with. There may be an anger management problem, and you have to not necessarily use the word detox because we don't use that. We just need help when it comes to something like that. But usually things that we have to get rid of in our life that is going to lead to some type of disaster in our life, to cause our life to unravel. And for me, it hit me this morning, me waking up. Oh yes, definitely, definitely, definitely. We're making progress, and we're cool with it. We're steady with it. At peace with it. Locked in all the way with it. Not obnoxious, not braggadocious, not arrogant. Just letting it move on in a smooth way. And I think these clouds are clearing away. I may have to change the angle of this phone to prove that I am live. Yes. See my hand? Hi, everybody. So if anybody doubts that, I'm right out here. And like I said, I've been up for like 6 now, 6:45 for me. So took 4 hours and 45 minutes, whatever. That doesn't matter. For me, oh God, I see a whole bunch of bananas I want to get. Let me see if I can put my finger right where it is. I mean, it's right there, but I don't think you'll see it. It's too far. I'm gonna get them bad boys. It's like, it looks like about 25, 30 of them over there, high up. I'm gonna get them. I want some bananas too. But anyway, for me, I'm gonna say this first, then I'm gonna back it up. For me, since moving out of the city here of Accra, which is much more peaceful than New York City or Orlando or probably North Carolina or any places that I've lived before. Since coming up here in the mountains, I've gone through a detox that I won't say is unintentional. It was very much welcome. It's just something that happened automatically that I noticed. And when left alone from any prior obligations of having to stay up or something I'm working on here and it's a deadline, like I got to get this done before these guys come in the morning, I got to set this up, whatever, stuff on those levels. When the sun goes down, I usually want to fall asleep. And I mean, I'll stay up till the sun goes down around. Last night, the street light came on at 5:52. And the time here in Ghana never changes. And that whole thing, when it changes, I just don't understand it. I never understood it in America. Why? Oh, daylight savings time. I never understood that. That was another way for me, for people to be kept thrown off. We already have so many things that accumulate toxicity with us. But the time thing, as soon as it should be one biorhythm. Like the sun comes up, you get up, it goes down, you fall asleep. Now I understand that we have to work jobs. I understand that everybody's not going to get a 9 to 5 when they work a job. Sometimes the only positions available are overnight. And most of my work career, not necessarily a career in anything, but just jobs that I've held down were night jobs or something going into the late hours. So for me, it was normal for me, but it wasn't normal for my system, for my body. And I've always thrived at night, or so I thought so. And one of the reasons why I've become a night creature was because a lot of the traumatic things that have happened to me. When that guy broke into my room and was standing over me, I think I broke one of his ribs before he got tossed out. But that was traumatic. That was August of 1980. So in my home, growing up, I was 17 years old. I felt violated, right? The next night, I'm riding my bike late with a friend of mine who I grew up with, lived a couple doors down. The whole neighborhood knew what happened because I have such a loud mouth. He thought it was a kid in the bed, but he found out. He found out. He effed around and found out. But the very next night, I'm riding my bike, a little jittery, the cops came and everything. I'm riding my bike, somebody pulls over, and there's a girl in the middle of the black Ford Falcon. I'll never forget it. This 1980. The next night, she's crying, and the driver said, "Is that him?" And she says, "Yes, that's him." And the guy had the guy that was in the passenger seat had a gun in his lap. I'm riding the bike, looking down. That was another thing, mistaken identity. But long story. I think I told that story already. I'm going to tell that story again. I kind of flipped the bike around, jumped down to the subway, crossed over the third rail, got to the police precinct, and a couple days later we found out what it was, and everything was cool. Those two things. Then 1989, the whole incident with the police with me getting beat down by 11 police officers. All these things happen at night. So nighttime, I am up and alert and awake. When everybody else starts getting tired, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready for battle. Something's going to happen. So I was security conscious all the time too. Lock your doors, lock your windows, be up, be vigilant, look out for the person who's coming. Because something's coming. That was my mentality. That was my mindset. The daytime, I could rest. Nothing was going to happen. See, so I didn't make myself that way. It was circumstantial. So there are things that happen to us. And it's not just substances, it's mentalities and mindsets that we have to detox from, that we don't realize. So we have to analyze our life. And I'm not preaching to anybody. I'm just preaching to myself too. We have to keep on analyzing our life to see where we stand, to understand what we must detox from, because it may be a substance for some. It may be a person who may have a crack habit, right? But the worst part of it is that the crack habit may be a minor thing compared to what they have to detox out of on a spiritual level. Ain't that something? They might be a crackhead. Not to insult anybody who's been on drugs. I've never been, but I'm not here to insult anybody. I'm just going to use that language. You see a crackhead come, oh, he's a crackhead. But maybe he's not just that, or they're not just that. It might be more than that. It may be where they're venomous. It may be where they're feeling down on themselves, where they don't have any esteem. Well, that usually goes with the whole crack thing sometimes. You understand where I'm coming from? It doesn't have to be what you spot in yourself or what somebody labels you as in this world. It may be 10 things you have to detox from, and the one that's more obvious is the least of your worries. You see what I mean? There have been times when, and I've said, I got to say this in a careful way, I don't want nobody to soundbite me, but there have been times when growing up, young guys, they're adventurous, they're curious, and they go places. They go to the topless bar, they go to the peep show to see the naked things going on. We didn't have smartphones back then. And so I found myself several times with friends of mine in a whorehouse. Now, I wasn't there to pay for anything. I've never done that. But I'm with them. So if 7 or 8 of us and 3 of them want to, sample the goods of what's offered there, well, I'm not going to say, it's freezing cold outside. I'm coming in there too. I want to see. And I have to say, I've seen more respect and love between those who the world will call whores. Where you see these women sitting around in a huge open area, half naked, to entice the men into lust and to choose them to go into the back room. Where once it was known that me and a few of the other guys weren't doing that, we were just waiting, we would have conversations. And here they are half naked, but we're having the most decent conversation, respectable conversation. These things teach me things. You see, because sometimes you go to a place, it may not be that, but you're like, wait a second, this is supposed to be a dope house. And the people who are smoking drugs, now I've never been in one of those situations, but I've heard about it. Guy gets a phone call. The guy who's selling drugs gets a phone call that his mother was in a bad accident and she was unalived. She's not with us anymore. And he's serving up drugs to the people who are smoking it. And he starts crying hysterically. And a crackhead puts down her pipe to hold this guy to say, man, it's going to be all right. You understand? So we can't just label people by what the obvious is by the world's so-called standard. You understand? Because we don't know what else it is, because we may label them bad and they got good in them. I've seen more love in prison, in jail. I've worked in these places. I've never been. I was in jail, defended myself, and when the cops beat me or whatever, but I'm not a career criminal. I'm not a criminal. But things happen, right? I've been in these situations and felt so much camaraderie, connectedness with those who they call inmates. That when you see them in their jumpsuit and how big and strong they are because they're laying around, they're working out, they're eating, they're getting, as they say, swole. When you see that, it's like, wow, there's so much caring. One guy might be sick and the other guy says, hey man, I got some cold medicine in my cell. I'll go get it for you. Oh, don't worry about it. No, you ain't got to pay me back nothing, man. I got you. Or you go through emotional things when you're locked up also. And you have brothers in there who console each other. You see, but they don't show that side when they show these documentaries, when they show HBO or Cinemax or whatever it is that will have their regular, lockdown type shows. They don't show that because it doesn't get the views. We want to see it. I think the sun is about to come out. We want to see the tension. We want to see the fights. We want to see who's getting cut up. We want to see who's going to snitch on somebody and all of that stuff. And this is what we focus on in the world because the so-called mainstream media pushes that. We want to see the decadent. We want to see the lowest common denominator. What if the news every night was like all good? What if nothing bad happened? I was telling a buddy of mine here who was doing some work here yesterday. I was saying, you look at Ghana, you look at Accra. Let's pick Accra, the most dominant city in Ghana. You don't hear of murders. It can happen every once in a blue year. I'm quite sure. But since I'm here, maybe one happened. And it was like maybe a reason for it. Now, there's no reason that you need to unalive somebody. But it may be where, some guy came home and saw his best friend on top of his wife and she was with it. You see, that's going to give you some heartbreak. You got to do something. At the moment, I can excuse that. But you just don't see it here. And I was telling him, I said, listen, man, I said, every day, just in New York City, every day, just in Chicago, every day in Miami, Detroit, Los Angeles, Dallas, Atlanta, somebody's getting killed. It's a shock when nobody gets murdered in one of these major cities because people are so up on each other. There's no natural vibration. There's no land. There's no space. It's concrete, tension, bills, bad food, no vibration and connection to nature, nothing. You see what I mean? So that being said, with me moving out of Accra up into the mountains where you see clouds, yes, these are clouds. It was an automatic detox for me. You understand? It was, I knew it would happen, but I didn't think about it deep. Where once I used to stay up till 4 and 5, yes, exactly, Giant Game, every day, several times a day. And the tension that you have to walk with. You see an ATM that you have to go to and you see people standing nearby that look shady, you don't go to that one, or you just kind of like go somewhere else and come back until they're gone. Like when you have to think like that, with that type of tension every day, You know, that's not a good thing. You're walking home to your apartment. Somebody seems to be following you in the street. You're not going to go. It could be in the wee hours, nobody else around. You might walk past your apartment building. There have been times when there were definitely people following me in a car. You know, I didn't go straight home. I just kept on going. I said, hey, then that's why I would always keep my gas tank full. I took it that far. Like, chances are the next person who may want to follow me, they're not going to have as much gas as I do. And I'm going to drive until they run out of gas. That's how I was thinking. That's how messed up my mind was, which it was a mental scab from what I've been through and the trauma that I've been through, as I mentioned earlier. It's a mental scab. But when you have no trauma that way, there's no scab. And usually it heals up, the scab heals up stronger, and the scar heals up stronger than the flesh that surrounds it. So when you have things happen to you, you become stronger. People say, oh, you're paranoid, all this. No, I've been through things. And when you've been through things, those areas get stronger to the point of looking imbalanced to a person who never went through those things. So when I'm walking through the streets of Accra, maybe late at night when I go down to the city, sometimes, I crave that sometimes. It's not always good, but I crave it. I'm up in the mountains, peaceful, living life, enjoying, as you can see. Like I said, this is live. Hi, everybody, whoever's here. But I crave that because that's the atmosphere I'm used to being in. And every now and then I need to go back to that. But it doesn't take long before I'm like, okay, I had enough. Let me go back. And there are times I don't even come out of my house. I mean, I stay on the property here, right? As far as you can see, there's land back there. This is a pretty big structure that I built, me and Mr. SCURV and I. And most of the time for a week, I don't even come out of the house, meaning leaving the property. If I had my food, I don't need to leave. Why? I'm on the balcony now. I'm outside. I might go inside and take a nap since I woke up so early. I don't know. I'm floating with nature. I'm breathing. I'm taking a bath in nature. Look at the plants. Look at the trees. Different vibrations from the trees and the plants. Different things to eat. Trees to hug. Animals that work along with you. Bugs and insects. Everything has its purpose. It's a beautiful thing. But because I'm out of that atmosphere, guess what? I have naturally detoxed from things. I'm not in the atmosphere of tension. Yeah, it's beautiful. It is real. I mean, I can move this around. You can see, right? I just have it on one of the posts here on the balcony on a stand, and I'm talking into it. At least I know not to use these wireless mics so close. They will echo on you. But anyway, that being said, naturally, I have acclimated to nature. Naturally now, I don't have to stay up. I see how powerful a force nature is. That when you submit to it, it tunes you up. It realigns you. And in that, you feel stronger because you now have the force of nature, the force of the universe behind you because you're submitting to its current. You're not swimming upstream. You're not going against the current, which takes so much out of you. So when I was in Orlando, which one would think is a lot more tamer than New York, but it has become what it is. Just the same elements, more or less, depending on the population, but the drugs, the crime, everything. So with that being said, I can't go back to that way of life. I would feel like, when a person feels like this chalk being scratched across the chalkboard or something rattling you, I couldn't go back to that. I can handle it if I had to. I know city life. I know New York City life, all aspects of it. I'm not going to say that's all I know, but I lived there for 38 years of my life, 61 now. So now there's no excuse to say that's just me because I'm embracing and moving into this more, and it really pays to expand your world. It really pays to come out of yourself mentally, at least. You could be physically stuck in a certain place in this world, but to read books, to look at documentaries, to see other things makes you realize that where you are, not just a physical location, but the place you are mentally, the place you are spiritually, that we need to ascend. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm better than you and you need to get better because I'm better than, no. There's a lot of effed up stuff with me I need to clean up. It may not be a lot as much as it used to be. I'm not even saying it was a lot before. There's certain areas I have to handle, but I say it that way to let you know I'm humble like anybody else. I can sit down on the curb with a crackhead and have a conversation. I can sit down with a staggering drunk and say, hey, man, I wish you the best. Let me hold you up until you can sit down somewhere. When you keep yourself grounded, you can't fall. I've told this story before, but since the old channel's gone, I will say it again. I'll say it real quick. It was in Orange County on 33rd Street when I used to work there as a corrections officer. And there was a sting that went on, a prostitution sting. And we're tipped off to these things when you work in jail sometime because you have to prepare for the influx of inmates coming in because you might have 40 or 50 arrests, 80 arrests come in, depending on the size of your town and the size of the facility. And that being said, when you're tipped off, you got to make room for these inmates to come in, right? The sun's coming up. Look at that. The sun's coming up. Now, as we talk, watch how things start to clear up. It'll clear up slowly but surely, and you'll see the other side of the hill, the mountain, which I'm seeing other parts now. But now we knew we had 2-man cells. In the unit I was in, there were 20 cells. Each one held two men. So that's 40 inmates in that particular day room, right? I see you, Giant Game. It's clearing up. I'm used to that. There's another aspect when I hang clothes, to dry, and the clouds come, they can be almost dry the night before. They're going to get wet again from all the moisture in the air. But for some reason, that clears up faster than if I put it out wet in the morning. It just leaves faster. It's like, okay, we just have to be the clouds, and this is the light droplets, so we're gone now. It's amazing. So, that being said, we have to put an extra man inside that cell. Now, in those 2-man cells, there's a bunk that has 2 beds, one on top and one on the bottom. And so we have to decide, like, the guys who are already there, they don't want to move, usually. Like, oh, come on, man, we got this new guy coming in here, and I got to move? So it's like, you get an attitude. So there was no problem for the most part, right? There was this 2-man cell. I went in there before and told the guys, I said, listen, because we had this older guy. The guy was like almost 80 years old, and it was a prostitutionist thing. I guess he got caught. But he was a nice old guy. He wasn't, he had a little lust problem, I guess. But that's, I'm not saying it's excusable, but I'd rather that than anything else. But anyway, we asked the guy, I said, listen, man, there's an older guy coming in here, man. Would you mind, like, if he wanted to have a bunk? Because somebody had to sleep on the floor on a mat. And I'm saying this to mention about the whole thing about being grounded. And I learned a lesson from what this old man said. So the guys are like, no, don't worry about it, man. Let Pops come in here, man. If he wants to sleep on the top, he can sleep on the top. If he wants to sleep on the bottom, he can sleep on the bottom. Both of us, man, we'll take the floor for Pops, man. Because the guy had his stuff, he was standing downstairs. There's a bunch of other guys because we had more than one officer working the unit to help distribute these guys. So I told the old guy to come on up. I said, come on up, man. So I said, listen, man, the brothers here, they don't mind which bunk you want to take, man. They're going to show you respect. They're going to show you love. It doesn't matter to them. So what do you want, the top or the bottom? He said, hey, man, I don't want to make one of these guys get on the floor. And the guys were like, listen, Pops, we don't get down like that in here, man. We respect you, man. If whatever you want, man, you an elder, man, we're going to respect you. We respect everybody until we're crossed. You take whatever bunk you want. And he was like, and I told the guy, I said, man, don't be scared of these guys. These guys are mad cool. Those are the 2 of the coolest guys that I knew in the unit. So he was like, no, I'm not scared. I'm not trying to say I'm challenging them. I'm not scared of them. And things are starting to clear up. You'll see it soon. I'm not scared like that. It's just that I'm scared of being on the top bunk, man. I like to roll over when I'm sleeping. Now, if I roll over from that high, I'm gonna bust my head. I might die up in here. Even if I'm on the bottom bunk, I might fall and hurt myself. I was like, wow, I didn't think about that. So he said, listen, I prefer to just get my mat and go on the floor because I can stretch out wider than the mat. If I go on the bunk, it's gonna be a problem. And then he said, when you're on the floor, you can't fall to the floor. When you're on the floor, when you and I was like, whoa, you didn't realize what you just said. Now, you know me, I always take things and, go deeper with it and everything. Patricia L. Holderman Garcia Valdivinos, how are you? Wow, I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. And I think I'm going to do more like this, not so much production and banners and fancy this and intros and stuff, but sometimes you just need to put on the phone and go out and talk. And like I said, for me, it's 7:09 in the morning. And for the East Coast, I know it's 3:09. So I know I'll be reaching a different set of people who may be up or working it late, whatever. And I like these. These are simple. What's on your mind, just speak it. Boom, boom. Now, I had recorded something and I'm going to go live and I have things to offer, but for some reason I was having a technical difficulty with it. And I spoke about RFK fighting Big Pharma and what it means to us. And I'm going to be speaking about a lot of relevant things that many people don't think about. Everybody's running one way. And I'm going to do more Kamala Harris, videos. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not a political person, but, it's just so obvious, and I will talk about that. I think Mr. Political is going to come back on later on. Yeah, I talked with him a couple of hours ago and he wants to go gung ho. I told him, I said, man, you need to come on every single day. As things happen, you need to comment on it because he's funny when he talks. He laces it with comedy and sometimes say some scathing things. And sometimes our sisters that don't know him really well, may get a little insulted. I can understand why, but he doesn't mean anything. That's just his era. You have to take it that way. You know what I mean? Um, and I understand them. And if you understand them, it's like really hilarious. Riri, how are you doing? Xavier, oh, everybody's popping in here. I'm glad. I really am at the cusp of doing my regular lives at certain times again, but there's a little more stuff to do. There's something unexpected that popped up we have to take care of. So if I can't do it regular at a set time, I'm going to do more. So this is on the phone. This is in the backyard on the balcony. And I'm just loving it. I got the balcony above me, and we had a lot of work done out here on this balcony. So, the stones and the tiles are not here yet. I might turn around and give you a quick peek. Yeah, let me do that. Let me do that. Let me do that. Let me do that. Just a quick peek. Just a quick peek. See here on the inside, right? If you look up, you see the balcony above me, right? So I can go up there sometime. Just a quick peek. Not the whole thing, just a quick peek. Let me straighten this camera out now. This phone. Bring it over here closer to the edge so I can yap a little bit. So yeah, what he was saying was that I can't fall off of the ground. I was like, wow, what is it? What did I get from that? That if you remain grounded, I would say humble, but humble sounds, people take that the wrong way, like you're like some little simp or something. No, but you remain grounded in your spirit. You remain in a pure state, grounded, feet on the ground, solid foundation. You can't fall. So if you have a solid foundation spiritually, solid foundation mentally, solid foundation emotionally, physically, you check yourself before somebody else has to check you. And you can't tell, but this is really clearing up. I'm seeing trees further down, back in the back, butterflies and birds, and I love it. So moving up here, away from the manufactured, I would say, I won't say desires, but the manufactured indulgences that we indulge in. And I'm speaking about myself. Wow. Midnight in Cali. Yes. I think I love this. I wake up at the crack of dawn anyway, so I do this on the regular. This will be my impromptu, like I said, not super fancy, because when I make a banner, I have to take time to make the banner, take time to write some things. jot down some notes, get ready to put it on the site. So before I even do a show, I got to prepare for it like an hour, hour and a half. This way, I click on the phone, boom, boom. I'll do it like this a lot. And I'm not saying every morning, every day, but most days I'll do it like this. I like this. I like this. I really like this. It's easier for me. And you will see everything clearing up even more. Yeah, seriously, right? Head in the clouds, and there's a floor below me too now. You know, there's a carport behind the house, but we're not going to use it for that, right? But yeah, things are coming along fine. Did some major work yesterday, and I'm loving it. Pacing yourself, but to detach from the bigger city. New York was the ultimate, right? Orlando had watered down, but it was getting worse. It was getting like New York. I even ran into people that I knew in New York that I would not want to hang out with, but because we saw each other somewhere else, like, yo, Lance, what's going on? We got to hang. It's like in my mind, I said, yeah, but I'm like, oh, no, we're not, because we don't get down the same way. I don't do the things you do. Oh, no, you know? So coming out to a crime, much, much milder, less crime, no crime, petty things that go on, but they're not approaching me that way, you know? They know I'm not a victim. I'm an older guy now, but they know that still, like him, we'll pass on to the next one. And I'm not a tough guy, right? But anyway, but coming up here and getting away from the artificially, how can I put it? Artificial, what's the word I'm looking for? Merged? No. There's a word I'm looking for. It'll hit me later on. But getting away from these atmospheres of so many people that have their own toxicities, their own things they need to detox from. Yeah, my head in the cloud. My head's really in the clouds. Big as my head is, and I'm saying physically, not my head is not big. I'm very humble. But big as my head is, it's already in the clouds, even when I was on flat land. But yeah, like getting away from that. It's not morphed anymore. It's not engineered in me anymore. You know, you can take a shower and put on your best clothes and perfume or cologne, depending on who you are, and come outside, and somebody could take you and dump you in a garbage dump, a dumpster. And you can't get out for an hour. By the time you get out, you're stinking like the dumpster. You're not stinking originally, but because of what you were around, you're stinking now. Ain't that something? So by us being in the bigger cities with so many spiritually wicked people, and I'm focusing on the bad. We know they're good people, good situations. I'm not somebody who's just negative, but I'm just saying these things that affect us for the bad. So we want to focus on getting away from the bad. The good we embrace, of course, we accept that. But to be around spiritually wicked people, people who are off emotionally, who may need help, and yes, it's not their fault lots of times. My heart goes out to them. But when they're off emotionally, it will still affect you in a toxic way. And you have all of this bumping into you physically, and even just you're going to your job, you're walking down your block, your neighborhood, and there's toxic people that you have to pass by. You want to avoid all of that. You want to make a conscious effort to avoid all of that. And that's another form of detox. Because detox takes many forms. And like I said earlier on, the obvious thing that people would say, oh, you need to detox from drinking so much. So do you think that when you detox from drinking so much that's it? Because if you're drinking a lot, it's evidence that you have another issue. It's an intangible. It's something that you can't see, right? So we have to dig deep. Taking care of that bruised knee, where you keep falling on it, it may be where there's another issue. I knew somebody who their grandmother lived with them. It was a big house, family house. Some of the kids grew up and moved away. Some of them chose to stay to help out with the grandmother and the mother. The father passed away. It's one of those things where you get in where you fit in. And it wasn't the typical situation where everybody gets out when they get to a certain age. And this woman was about 30 years old. Her mother was about 50 something, but the grandmother was like in her 80s. The grandmother passed away. Grandmother had a room upstairs. The grandmother was walking around healthy and everything, so it wasn't like a thing where they were bedridden, whatever. But she did pass away, and she was falling all the time, and she couldn't figure out why. She's like, I'm upstairs, I'm good, I'm walking, but every now and then I'd fall and bust my knee, and I'm like, talking to, we got to figure this thing out. Is there anything wrong with your knee? No. Climbing steps, I go running and everything. I keep myself fit woman, good shape, nice shape, I would say, as a man back then. Excuse me, a mosquito just flew in my mouth. Am I talking too much? That's nasty. You ever see that clip with a guy that was a newscaster and a fly flew in his mouth? Mosquito ran right in my mouth. Sorry to make the spit sound, but I had to do that. Anyway, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Sometimes these little bugs are like demons. These flies, these mosquitoes that buzz in your ear, these flies that try to get in your ear. I know, right? I don't want to think of it that way. Bill Gates would be happy. Well, he had a bug in his protein, so we can make bug sandwiches. Oh no. So I'm going to talk with my lips pursed. I don't want nothing else coming in there. This is not like a fly through restaurant in my mouth, Been eating good though, so maybe it smelled something. But this screen is not showing how much everything's clearing up. It will. But anyway, we had to think about this. She loved her grandmother so much. The reason why was that the grandmother was gone, but the room was just the way it was. The door open, it wasn't closed. And she just felt weak when she would pass her grandmother's room. And it wasn't every time, but at least 4 times a week. Not on schedule, but it happened a lot. And she would always fall on his one knee. And that's what it was. I'm telling you, Xavier, especially at night. Now, see, in the daytime, they pretty much go away. You have some bold ones. Like if I go to the back of the property now, way down in the back there, all them trees and stuff, you got bugs down there that, they stand out there 24/7, right? But as a kid, I used to be so afraid of dragonflies. They look like they'll bite you bad, right? And they don't bite like that. But dragonflies are my friend because they eat mosquitoes. So whenever I see a lot of dragonflies out, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with the dragonflies because they're my bodyguards. So Secret Service to Trump, well, dragonflies are like that for me when I'm out of here. You're so right. Anyway, just to prove I'm live. Anytime you think I'm not live, say, Lance, put up a finger or 2 fingers or 3 fingers and I'll do it. Anyway, yeah, so we found out. So there's always reasons for things with us. And again, like I said, once it was like an experiment that I didn't seek to go into, but I can tell you, if you get out of a place where it's so, the population is dense with people who are imbalanced. And again, I'm not saying it's like, oh, I'm so clean and pure now. No, I'm not pure. I'd like to be more pure. I'd like to make myself better. I'd like to detox more. But from what I see, just from physically removing myself from the city, and I was speaking to Mrs. SCURV about that the other day too. She said the same thing. She says, Lance, when we go down into a cry, like, see, she's a person, she can stay up here like forever and not go into the bigger city. And I say I have a reclusive side to me, but it's really a side that wants to be left alone so I can go deep inside myself to learn my version of human nature, my bit. Because lots of times when I'm speaking on these videos and speaking about life, I'm speaking about myself. I'm speaking to myself. So people think, oh, you think you know everything. You talk. No, I'm revealing a lot. And it may be different for different people. I may speak about somebody who's on alcohol. I might speak about maybe former lust addictions. You know what I mean? And the fact that I'm a flaming hetero, and that has not always ended up too good for me. How do you explain to 5 different girlfriends? Now, I wasn't bad like that, but I mean, I was always upfront. But still, you could, people catch feelings and things happen, and I can. Tyler Perry used to call me because I can suggest to him certain situations that he has never thought of that I've lived in real life. So I'm speaking to myself, and we can convert those things. It doesn't have to be the same substance or the same scenario, right? But in an unintentional way, I've learned that embracing nature, which we know in our heads, we say it sometime. Yeah, we're saying it's the right thing to say. This thing is for real. This thing is for real. And nature makes you respect it, right? See, we can live in a big city, gunshots and crime and stuff, and we'll still go out to that corner store down the block, 2 blocks away. I'm not saying you can't or you're supposed to be scared. Some people say, well, you're going to be strapped. Well, even if you are, look at the state of mind that you're in. Tanya 23 experience, welcome on in. Thank you so much. Much love to you. Yeah, I was looking off for a second. I don't know how long you were here, but I see you the last person to comment. Yeah, I love doing these. I think I love doing these. I love standing up here looking over and I'll give you a wave. Anybody who comes in, I'll give you a wave. Much love. And I'll show you where I am standing. And again, this is not finished. I'll move it back a little bit. And they were doing so much work. We didn't tile it yet, right? But they dropped the stuff that they were using on the ceilings up there. So I just put this here. And again, like I said, we have the other balcony above. Maybe I'll do one up there. You can see a little further. I just put this right here. And again, for me not to have to, and I love doing every aspect of content creation, but sometimes you just want to get on the mic and just talk. And you want to go live. And so there are people who like don't get into the production as much. I like to make something nice to look at and do things just right. But sometimes you just want to talk from the heart. And that's what I'm going to do with these. That's what I'm going to do with these, even though it's in the wee hours for most of the United States. What time is it now? 7:25. I've been up from 2 o'clock, 2:30. Wow. So just think of people we've talked to, places we've been, places we've lived, places we've worked, and how the energy fields of these people in these situations have affected us. Just think about that. And think about how it's taken us from being who we're supposed to be or where we're supposed to be going. And I don't mean just physically, but where we're supposed to be going mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Because look, I always call those different components out of our being because we need to think of ourselves. I'm not saying think of yourself as a vehicle. All right, when you drive a car, a truck, a luxury sedan, whatever, bus, you have a dashboard. You can check your oil. I mean, you have to check your oil, right? But you can see if the oil while you're driving got too low for some reason. It could be a leak, and now the engine's in danger of catching on fire. You can see when your fuel is low. You can see when the electrical charge is not balanced. You can see the pressure. You can see all these different factors, and we have to think of ourselves that way. We have to be reminded. See, we don't have a dashboard, so we have to mentally go down that list and ask yourself in the morning when you wake up, or whenever you wake up. You could take a nap and just wake up and say, listen, how am I feeling? You have to talk to yourself. There's nothing wrong with assessing yourself, checking yourself. Even if you have to write it down on a paper and put it next to you in a nightstand or in the phone. We usually sleep with our phones, right? We stay on YouTube until we fall asleep, or Facebook or whatever, which doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing if what you're putting in before you go to sleep is something good, right? And that's one of the tricks of studying. When you want to really absorb this information and make it stick, absorb it right before you sleep and let it just saturate itself in your subconscious mind. And you wake up with it, you dream about it. It's the last thing. You'll have to remember that. And really and truly, just as a side note, since I went there, we need to get more into books. We need to get away from the blue light of the cell phone, the smartphone, or the computer before we go to bed, because that's going to excite us like sunlight and make us want to stay up. And it's harder to get to a deeper sleep. Books don't emit that light. You can have a light on to read a little bit and put the book down. It's not going to affect you that way. It's not going to be addictive either. Once you're done, like you're tired, you read, put this book down. When you're on the smartphone, there's something else to keep you on. And that's the very nature of thank you, Giant Game. That's the very nature of social media. It's not your friend. They have advertisements, and it's their job to keep you on as long as they possibly can. This is business for them. We think it's great that we know the other generations. When we had a television set and around 2 or 3 o'clock, we'd see the American flag, hear the anthem, and all of a sudden, boop, and then you see the different colors of the spectrum. You had to wait till 4:35 for it to come on again. But now we can go back and listen to music we want to listen to. We can follow channels that we want to follow, and man, we'll never sleep. And I've fallen victim to that. I'm into bodybuilding and boxing. Those are my vices. Used to do bodybuilding and touch a little bit boxing, hanging out with my friends, going to the gym, training, whatever, but didn't want to get brain damage. I think I was pretty good. But I keep up with those things. That's the human side of me. I'll admit that. I'm not just this machine who, LANCESCURV is this guy who, whatever. I have my pastimes. I'm a comedian sometimes. I want to get more into the whole comedic thing. The little skits and different things. I'm going to do some straight stupid stuff, but it's got to be right. It's got to make you laugh. It's got to be right with me first. But there's just too much laughter in my soul. I get angry at things. I get sad and sentimental, just like anybody else. I'm vibrating with myself, and I accept that. Just think of how many people out here don't accept themselves. There's more of a push for a person to accept what they do in the bedroom that may not be what the church may agree with or whatever have you. But what about accepting yourself for who you are, really at the core? That has nothing to do with your sex organs. Accepting yourself. And if you can't accept yourself, why can't you accept yourself as you are? Is there anything that you need to correct? There are people out here who are running around here jacked up emotionally, and they don't even know it. Not to get too specific, I'm just going to say it this way. How are you going to see somebody, right, who's minding their business, who has secluded themselves privately on their property? And you don't even live around anywhere near there, but you know somebody close by, and you're mad at what that person's doing, always pointing, and you got a how jacked up are you that you mad at what the next man is doing? How jacked up are you that you have to pick up the battles of a person who may not like that neighbor? So now you don't. What kind of punk move is that? See, this is it, right? If I'm close with you, oh yes, you do, but it's so low. It's so low. We haven't paid an ounce of tax yet. You know why? For some reason they say, until you paint your house, you don't have to pay taxes. I'm like, I don't understand it, but I'm cool with that. And then what they said the approximate taxes would be at the time that we got the land 5 years ago. Was it 5 years? Yeah, 5 years ago. Yeah. They said, oh, it's going to be about maybe, and they gave us the number in CDs, but it would be the equivalent of $40 a year. $40 a year. You see what I'm saying? So I'm like, wow, I don't care. I'll paint my house. We're going to put decorative stone, or the nice stonework, but that's last. That's the icing. We're doing everything on the inside. And certain things first. We're taking out, there's no rush. Like in America, well, we're going to build this house in 3 months. Okay, fine. Taking our time because this is such solid construction. There's so much steel in this house and concrete and poured concrete. This place is strong. You go ahead and punch the wall if you want to. Even the moldings are made so strong. They're probably stronger than the actual walls. But it's so relaxing. And like I was speaking to a friend of mine, I know he wouldn't mind me saying it, but we were speaking. He lives in New York, on Long Island. He was saying, man, my taxes are $17,000 a year. I'm like, God, dog. That's not even counting the mortgage. And it should not be that way. Why? Yes, schools and hospitals, it has to pay for certain things. But you have your hospital in your yard from the things that are made for your human body. But we were taken away from the knowledge of that, and we depend on the pharmacy, the drugstore. Huh? You see, by being made ignorant and kept that way in the educational system, which is not educating, it's programming us. We get an ache of pain, we think about what pill we can take. They push these ads as though drugs are so glamorous. You see an 80-year-old person riding a bike and they have no pains, and so that next 80-year-old person or in that age group will say, hey, I'm walking with a walker. Well, basically, I need to take these pills to be healthy again. No, you don't. No, you don't. There's nobody that got old and got young again, meaning run down. Old is not old if you do what you're supposed to do in the prior. See, what you're going through now, whoever you are, I don't know the person, your personal situation, right? I'm going to say it like this, and I don't want to sound condescending because I'm aging also and I see it. But I don't feel it like that. You know, that whatever you are now, like say you're 50 years old. I'm 61, but let's say you're 50. Whatever you're experiencing at 50 years old, it was put into motion from 30. Now, I'm not saying actually 30, but the whole time of your life led you to this point. You see what I mean? So what you're doing now is going to show up on you 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 20 years from now, 30, 40, depending on what your age is. So invest in yourself. Make the better choices. Get the rest. I'm getting so much rest now. Even though I wake up at a certain time, I mean, you're in tune with nature when you don't realize when you slept. It's not like, well, I watched this video and I kind of dozed off around that time. I know when I laid down. It didn't take too long because I'm out. And then I just find myself waking up. Or I find myself waking up and answer the call to nature because I drank too much liquid or whatever. And I'm like, whoa, it's 12:30 in the morning and it feels like I've been sleeping, or you may have been sleeping for 5 hours. That is so weird for me. So you can see like the next, I'll say mountain, but it's like a hill. Because like I said, these hills are here and you can see how it drops. Scary. I was walking on, there's like a police thingy coming down the hill up there. I don't think you can see it. There's some flashing lights. Now over that elevation over there, and you look over, then you'll see something. And you're like, if you're afraid of heights, you're like, oh my God, look how high we are. The other day I saw a cloud, eye level, because I'm high up coming down the road on one of the vans. And I looked over and the cloud was eye level. It was pouring down raining, but I was like a little bit above it. It was to the side. I was like, whoa. So you see how things are clearing up. You see the blue sky get ready to happen, right? And the clouds are moving away. Now you see more of the definition of the horizon in front of me and the houses that are there. See it more and more. You adjust just a little more. Yeah. You have to pay. Okay, yeah, that's what I answered already. Yes, you do, but it's minuscule. And even in the more populated areas, like down in the city, where things can be just as expensive, there's condos and townhouses, and they have everything they have in America. But I choose to be up here. First of all, it's much more affordable. Next to nothing. You just build, and you pay for your land, and you good. You good. Oh yeah, now the sun is coming out really nice now. Let me know if it's too bright in the screen and I'll change the angle. It doesn't look like it is. And I didn't even know I was going to talk this long. See? So I do it natural like this, which the other ways I do it is not. Like, it's not like it's unnatural, but there's certain points I want to make sure to stress out. I jot down my notes, which is something I want to talk about again later on. And I do have something already recorded and prepared. Neil Frazier's coming on later on. And I'm going to do something. I'm going to eat a little something, take an hour and a half nap, lay out here, in the sun. I'll even sleep out here. As long as those mosquitoes leave me alone and the bananas that are down there, I'm going to get them bad boys for real. But without purposely detoxing, I have detoxed a great amount in ways that I wasn't aware of. And it's helped me a whole lot. Not that I needed some extreme help, but it has made the ride in life so much more smoother. You have a vehicle, right? Used vehicle. It's used maybe because of you. You bought it new, now it's used, or you bought it used or whatever. And you notice that, wow, yeah, the sun is beaming down now. You notice that it's not riding too well. And it's rough off more than what you realize. You finally get it tuned up, the tires rotated, change the oil and spark plugs and everything else, and you get it detailed. Man, that thing, you notice it's so much more different. It's like, whoa, I was driving around in a ragged situation that gradually snuck up on me. And this is what happens to us on a spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical level. We don't get tuned up. We put it off. So most of us are not even aware of it. And we finally maybe get away from something and come back to it, and you realize how messed up you were. You see? So I want to talk more about this, but I'm gonna leave it at that. Can't believe I was out here for an hour and 3 minutes, but I don't care. I love it. I love being here with my family vibing, and it really, technology, I use it for a good way. Like me being up here, being able to talk to you all here. I'm isolated to a point, but I'm not really isolated because I go into my inner verse. Now I have nothing to prove to the world. I'm not trying to be somebody's prophet or be somebody's. I'm not trying to. I'm just myself, and I enjoy sharing my thoughts and creations and writings and all of that stuff. And it's great peace. And I just want to say that whoever may be out here who may be going through a really rough time on any level, it could be financial, it could be mental, it could be emotional. You know, you break up with somebody, but you still love them, or you have to break up with them and you don't want to because they got a problem with a substance or an addiction, or it could be in-laws, it could be your mother or father. They don't want to back up on how they see a situation in the family, and you're trying to convince them. There's a lot of ways that we can find ourselves like toxic, not because of us being toxic either. Sometimes we are the reasons why we're toxic, right? But there's so many things coming at us that we don't go down the checklist on what we need to clean out. You know, here, living in a construction site and moving things around to get this done and move things around, it's not easy. We have to still be compartmentalized in our life so we don't take the issues at home to the job, or the issues of the job to home, or in your neighborhood, or with your children, or it's so many things that take us off. And then we have to deal with being so close to people that have their own issues that rub off on you because of the way they treat you, because they're so insecure. They want to try to bring you down because they see that you're confident on certain areas. It's just so much when you're aware of it. It's just like when you're a child, 6, 7, 8 years old. You might have heard of that word mortgage. You don't know what it is. Your parents may have had a mortgage, or you may live in an apartment. You have to pay a rent. You don't really, oh yeah, the rent, mortgage. Yeah, that's that word. Get older and be on your own, and be late where you know you're going to be late paying that mortgage or that rent. That word is a stress, and you want to get away from it. When you're a child and you don't have to bother with it, it's nothing. But as you get older, you have to deal with all of these different spirits and entities and hidden agendas and secret motivations around you, and energy bubbles around people that they overshadow you. They rain on your parade. They rain on your barbecue, your cookout. And it's your job to keep yourself clear and unaffected. It's a lot. Honestly, it's a lot. So that's a whole other subject. But that being said, I'm gonna sign it off from now. And I just want to say thank you all for being here. And it's very enjoyable for me. I really love it. And on one of these banners, I have information on there that I have to change, like with ZELLE and different things. Um, I'll change it, but I love playing it. But I'm not going to play it now. I just do the usual same old outro that I do. But that being said, just know that any topic that you want me to cover. Not that I know everything, but maybe it's something you want me to speak about, then I'll be glad to talk about it. My email is lance@lancescurv.com. And there's no E at the end of scurv after the V. It's scurv. Lance@lancescurv.com. That's what it is. And like I said, it's all love. This is from the heart. And I'm gonna try to do this again tomorrow at the same time. But I have so much to do today, and I'm just so happy to have this opportunity to be alive, to be well, to be cleansed, to be detoxed even more. And I'm gonna look within to see if I can be detoxed anymore. Let me see. Things are clearing up. Things are clearing up. And that's the way it is in life. Sometimes you don't know you're in a storm or the clouds are there, but it doesn't mean the sun's not shining. It's just blocked. The good times are there. Some of your best times are ahead of you, and you don't realize it. So don't think that this is it because the clouds are there. They're rays just for you from the sun. When it hits your body, those were the rays that were meant for you. Now look at that. The sun comes out even brighter. Ah. Anyway, you all have a good night's rest. And I'm here, and you can reach out to me anytime. All right? Much love to you all. Peace.